Welcome to Simple and Clean, a Kingdom Hearts podcast. I'm Mischa Stanton.
And I'm Mayanna Berrin. And we've got a guest in the gummy ship.
Hello.
Yeah, we have a guest all the way from halfway around the world.
Yes.
That's correct. I snuck onto the gummy ship while Chip and Dale weren't looking. Hello. My name is Matt Gosper. I am a games reviewer. I've been reviewing and working as senior editor for an Australian publication called Survivor for, this is terrifying, 15 years now.
Wow.
I am also a podcaster because I am a white man in my 30s. Sure. I do a podcast with my friend Lex from Canada called Trails Through Trails, which, similar to you guys covering Kingdom Hearts, we cover the Trails RPG series, which is just as convoluted and ridiculous. So I feel like we're really kindred spirits in this moment.
Yeah. And deep lore, I've come to learn from the Trails series that, like, the way it tells its story is also as deep and interesting as Kingdom Hearts. It's got, I will admit to not having heard of the series, which is definitely, after having done my research, a failure on my part. So I'm sorry.
Look, it's having its moment at the moment. They've last year, 2 years ago, remade the first game, and then later this year, the remake of the second game is coming in. So we have like waves of new people showing up to this ridiculous series that it's 13 games long. So there's a lot of them. Fair enough if you haven't played all of them, but it's just one continuous narrative the whole way through. So we go from, like, weirdly, the villain of the very first game, which was in the 90s, the villain is misogyny.
Good.
And most recently, we've had villains like Vapes and the Singularity.
Wow, you know, they really do have a finger on the pulse, I would say.
They got it covered.
Vapes are the enemy.
And the most recent arc is covering a lot of, like, immigration issues, which is really interesting. It's not something you typically see in an RPG, let alone a J1. But yeah. That's where I'm coming from.
Awesome.
We're 3 seasons in, we're on the 3rd game at the moment, only 10 more to go.
Wow, okay, content
seriously.
on content. How did you find your way to the Trails series?
It was COVID for me. So here in Australia, specifically in Victoria, capital city Melbourne, where I live, we had, I think we still hold the record for the longest amount of lockdowns of any city, country, state in the world. It was almost a full year in total that we were in lockdown, with sort of ups and downs and ins and outs. You know, locked in a house with only 1 hour of mandatory outside exercise per day, like no gatherings. Well, not mandatory, but it's at 23 hours into the day, you're like, I need to leave the house or I am going to strangle everybody. And so I found my way to Cold Steel, which is one of the more recent arcs, Trails of Cold Steel, I should say, because it was on sale and it was an RPG and there were 4 of them in that arc. So I started the first one and I finished it, and then I played the second one and I finished it, and then I started the third one and I finished it, and we're still in lockdown. And then we started the 4th one and I got tired, and it was at that point that my partner says, I am so sick of hearing this game, because we were sharing a place at the time. Like, please stop playing this in my lounge room. I'm going to go crazy if I hear one more Trails of the Legends of the Cold Steel of the Adventure in the Sky.
And that's when she does her mandatory outside time.
That was when he stepped outside for his walk.
Sorry.
How
My bad.
dare you? But yeah, so I kind of mainlined an entire arc of the games, and now have sort of circled back. I've gone sort of machete order all over the series, but now sort of playing it chronologically like a sane person for the podcast.
Amazing.
Well, does that make you a sane person, or does that just make you a diligent person? They are different things.
Potato, tomato.
This is Mischa asking the big questions.
Hi, I'm Mischa Stanton. I host a Kingdom Hearts podcast. Hi, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
It's nice to see fellow mental illness.
Yeah, exactly.
We all got it. We all, as Mischa's therapist once said to them, you definitely got something.
Yep. That's true. That's why I say that a lot.
I only share it because you've shared it, I believe.
No,
on the
it's
pod
great.
before,
No.
so.
I'm glad that the origins of that bit is finally making it to tape. I do appreciate the opportunity. Matt, you're also a Kingdom Hearts fan. Can you tell us about how you found Kingdom Hearts and how it fits into your life?
I played the original Kingdom Hearts back in the day. I think about a year delayed because I
Okay.
didn't get a PS2 until a little later in the life cycle, sort of as the PS3 was on the horizon, which was a great time to go in and buy
That's a
all the
great
games
time to
you've
get
never
the
played.
PS2.
That's
low-key,
yeah.
Never been a better time to get a PS2 than right before the PS3 was going to come out. You had a renaissance.
Wow, or like slightly after that also.
Delicious. You're like, I'm eating good for a while they sort out all their bullshit with the new one.
Ooh, especially that one.
I covered Kingdom Hearts 1. You know, I never beat Sephiroth because I had
get
better
it.
No,
things to
that's
do with
fine.
my
No,
time.
you did it. It's okay.
That's okay. Lance Baths forgives you.
I heard the voice, I saw the intro sequence, and then I failed immediately and said, well, that's my experience of Sephiroth in Kingdom
Some
Hearts.
things are not meant to be experienced in full.
Yeah,
Like that fight in
Things are just
particular.
meant to be observed from a distance and on the internet later.
Yeah, I'll just do a let's play of that fight at, like 3 times speed with the sound off going, yeah, that seems like something you could do if you wanted to.
Wow. Yeah, I want to see a guy beat it using the Guitar Hero guitar, because that person is on a different level than me. Well, Sarah Key, who is a D&D content creator, I believe she has beaten a couple of the Kingdom Hearts games on the DDR pad. I believe that was like one of her claims to fame. Yeah.
But yeah, after Kingdom Hearts 1, I was very hooked. Like, Kingdom Hearts 2 was about to come out in America because in Australia, it was released randomly like 8 months later.
Oh.
For no reason.
Yes, it was.
They told
I remember
us
that.
The only coverage they had was it was for localization reasons. And it's,
in the same language.
Yeah. Australia is lumped in with Europe for all
they
these
have
releases.
to translate it to
They
Australian.
have to localize it. They have to make sure all the cultural references track.
It's so hard to change center from ER to RE, but that's where we're stuck. It's because Australia is technically part of the European release area, or we were back in the day, so we'd have to wait for it to be translated into Dutch, German, French, all those other languages that would be tagged on as well. So I was just sitting there avoiding half the internet for like 8 months, trying not to find out what happened. Eventually played it. And I think I've dipped into almost every game since. Not the mobile ones because I missed the boat on those.
Understood.
Again, so it's like the Sephiroth fight. Very
I
optional.
did get a fact check DM though that apparently I guess the mobile games were available not just in Japan.
Yes,
but I'll have to do some digging. Okay.
When I say that, so I knew that. When I say that, I'm doing a bit.
We're doing
I'm trying
hyperbolics.
to be funny and silly.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I was doing hyperbolics for funnies, but
That's fair.
there was more international access. I will say you can't access it now. The servers are gone.
Gone.
So that's
erased. Lost
another
media.
thing that's kind of why I talk about it as like, oh, you can only play because there was only a limited time where you could play them, and the point is that access is bad.
I can't remember which one it was that I dipped into very briefly while it was active, like 25 seconds before they shut down the servers or whatever.
Man.
It was little like flat color art, and you had to pick a team.
Were you player? Were you? Did you
player,
make your own little person? Yeah.
I don't remember seeing Larxene or anything, so maybe I just didn't get far enough. But,
Man, yeah. That's crazy. I can't stop thinking about that. I think about that like once a day.
The only experience I've had of it was on the HD 2.8 collection.
Yes.
The movie about all of those clan leaders, which
with the dog masks.
Yeah, with the animal masks. And I started playing it, and I got like 20 minutes in. I was like, man, this is really long. I thought this was like a short one. So I tried to pause it and accidentally exited out of the video. And it turns out you can't resume on that movie. I had to just leave the room for 20 minutes while it played out again and then come back.
Because just like a lot of other Japanese games, they had to build their own proprietary engine. But it's just a movie. They couldn't have just put VLC on there.
No, because you have to watch that. Namura-san requests that you witness it in its entirety. No skipping, no pausing. If you want to experience it, you must let it wash over you, like the storm, the wind, the sky.
Yes, the only true way to experience it is to watch the first 20 minutes twice so you really get the rest of it. And I could not tell you
There's
what happened.
There's a lot they lay ground for. Yeah, I'm sure, yeah. Oh, man, I love it so much. This mess we're in.
It's a delight. So I've played through everything-ish. Side games I haven't finished, but Kingdom Hearts 3 I didn't go back for the Remind DLC because it was... Honestly, it was very expensive.
Yes, it was.
Money.
And it was like a year later.
It was quite late,
and after the reception of 3, which was mixed at best. I could understand why people would feel a little bit apprehensive to buy more of it. Yeah. I get that. I will be dipping my toe into it for the first time for this show. Ooh. And I feel like I missed a lot. The clips that I see, I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah, it's actually, some would say the whole.
It's kind of the ending.
Yeah, it's the whole ending.
That's what I heard,
the ending. Yeah.
It's great. Yeah. Speaking of bombastic cinematic storytelling with incredible visuals, let's talk about what we're here to talk about today. What is a JRPG?
Topic. What is it? Big question.
What is a JRPG?
Big question.
What is a JRPG?
Yeah. What? How would you define one? Go.
Made in Japan, first and foremost.
Maybe.
Well, yes.
I would say the majority of them are.
The majority of them are. We have now, with the clair obscure of it all, this idea of like, are there stylistic conventions that were developed by predominantly Japanese game designers that have been not co-opted, because you can share design philosophies that are homaged, expanded, utilized by other studios.
Yeah, I would say more so than a country of origin, JRPG is a genre of game.
Yes, exactly.
It's a vibe,
yeah, it's a vibe.
Typically turn-based, but not necessarily always. A level of strategy of a sort.
Yep. Statistics-based gameplay where you level up stats.
Statistics-based gameplay.
Yeah, I would say like deep mechanics, kind of hard or grindy combat that really makes you kind of look at the systems. You can't just kind of breeze through.
No, you can't ever just kind of no thoughts, head empty.
No.
Unless you're just really grinding and you're like in one area for a long time. I would also say JRPGs typically are about, to the point about vapes and the patriarchy, they're usually about very big ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very narrative forward, narrative intensive.
Yeah, some stuff happens and then we've got to kill God. So
usually, yada, kill God.
That's been a feature of them from the inception, and I was looking into why, and I found it really interesting.
I can't wait to learn. I love learning.
One thing about these stories is that they're like most novels in that they're about specific characters, as opposed to Western RPGs, which tended to be more self-inserts for the player.
Yes, that makes sense.
I wonder how that is to do with the differences in our culture, that like, because an RPG told from a specific character, like with specific characters in mind, and stuff happens to them and they're specific people already, is just sort of like a tighter narrative, which owes to some like interesting roots in Japanese culture, whereas when you can be yourself in the game, the reason you be in the game is to express how you would be in the game. Which I find a lot more about like individualism and expression. I don't know. It was an interesting contrast, I guess.
There's also the discussion about like in Western storytelling, and this happens in film as well, the romanticization of the concept of the one-man army, the Rambo, the Terminator, the Doom guy, all this stuff where it's like you're one guy and you're gonna kill everybody and you don't need anybody and you're gonna do it, and you're badass, and you're in a tank top, that kind of thing.
And any guy can be that guy, and you in your mind can be that guy.
Yeah, and his name is Chad, or
his name
Duke.
is Blade War Guy.
Yeah, Slice 'em McDice 'em. He just got out of retirement, but he's here for one last job. Anyway, but
right. So the difference between that and like the characters you'll find in a JRPG. In a JRPG, there's a lot of characters like filling specific archetypes. It has roots in anime storytelling, which has its roots in like the high art of no theater in like more feudal Japan, where there were these like regimented character tropes and archetypes that were used as paints to paint the canvas of the story. And like, because JRPGs have their roots in anime, that vibe carries through the whole thing. So you get a lot more like archetypical fantasy tropes going on in that storytelling as well.
Yeah. There's one other observation I'll make too, which is I feel like, and it's not true of everyone, but I feel like it is a consistent theme that I find in JRPGs, is your ensemble or your party will usually comprise of someone who is representative of a wider, bigger group. That it's like the person who was either ousted from their town, a representative of their town, an apprentice taking up the mantle of a mentor. But it's usually like, you know, you'll have your party of 8, but each individual party member will be like, I represent this, you know, place or these people, and I am on behalf of them going to kill God. You know, that kind of thing.
I think that comes from, like, most JRPGs have these wide sweeping worlds and these wide sweeping narratives. And just to make sure that you're always keeping all of the things in your mind and in front of you so that you remember what they are, they want to give you a little piece of each of them so you can keep track of it all, you know?
Yeah. And it's interesting how at the same time as they're representing, you know, a culture, a group, a place, you also have them assigned typically the same handful of archetypes character-wise. So you have the protagonist, who's usually a blank slate. You have, you know, the older sister or older brother characters, the younger sister or younger brother characters, the heel of the party who's just kind of a curmudgeon or like combative in some way, the old smart person, and then the weirdo who joins your party.
Yeah, you forgot one, which is hot lady with boobs.
Oh,
There's always hot lady with boobs. Lulu, Sheena, Judith, other ones.
You know them all.
And I'm really enjoying the current renaissance where even the male characters get to have big chests. Like, it's something for everybody. It's an archetype.
Give me the
it's not gendered.
broad-chested boys.
It's about equality.
Yeah, it is about equality. Equal opportunity, hot, older character who, when you flirt with them, they go, I'm much too old for you.
My name's
And they're
Oron.
33. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Do you know that hot girl, big boobs is a trope that goes back to like the very heart of the Japanese video game industry?
I need to know everything. I need to know everything. Speak of my people.
Give us
Represent
culture.
me, culture. Yeah.
Okay. So JRPGs, and I want to talk about this. I want to go through the history of it because I need to know if Kingdom Hearts fits into this legacy. That's what we're here to talk about today, ultimately. So I want to keep that in the front of your mind as I tell you this beautiful, sprawling tale.
I'm so excited.
So JRPGs are born from a few different places. One of the first ones is visual novels, which were one of the first games that Japan was making. Like, when people got their hands on personal computers, they were making visual novels. The reason they could do that is because Japanese displays had to display different characters. And so the resolution for displaying different things was higher.
Yes.
So they could have denser text. And also, like, a character is a word in Japanese instead of just a letter. So they had denser information with less stuff. Like, their screens could just display more earlier. I found that fascinating.
And didn't they have the capacity for more pixels too? Like, they were really, there was like good sophisticated things happening in pixel art.
Yes, because they had to, by necessity, display a wider variety of things. The ability to display a variety of things was higher. So they could translate anime aesthetics more easily to a display sooner than other computers around the world could.
Take that, other computers.
Right? And so games in Japan had this history of being like narratively dense just because they had more of an ability to display both text and pictures.
That's awesome.
That's their language. That's their culture. That's how it goes.
Interesting.
So at first, these weren't called like role-playing games or visual novels. They were referred to as simulation games.
Boo. I hate it. Change it.
I don't know.
Change it later in the future.
Well, that's the thing. I read a lot of sci-fi novels, and in the sci-fi future, kids do play Sims. That's a thing that kids play, you know, in cyberpunk novels. And so I do kind of have a fondness for that. I don't know.
I think simulator to me, like, yes, you are simulating an experience, but I feel like I don't know why, but you know what? It makes me feel like it's a passive experience for some reason. Like, simulation in my mind, is just watching and visualizing rather than experiencing. But that's just me.
I guess to me, it describes a world that you can make choices in, where it's simulating the whole world and you get to go around and make your choices.
I mean, at first blush, simulation makes me think of like replicating something that already exists as opposed to creating a new experience. So all those games, house construction simulator and stuff. It's
Power Wash Simulator.
A lot of the first games were a lot like that. In fact, so to bring it back around to Anime Girl Big Boobs, one of the first examples of like games that I could see that I found in research was there were some games where like you would just be in an apartment building and trying to like maintain things and run, just like live your life. And there are a lot of neighbors and you live in a seedier neighborhood and there's a lot of like women big breasts who live there and the Yakuza who try to harass them.
Who are working for the
exactly.
money.
But it was really just like, it was more like Yakuza, I guess, which is a JRPG, so we'll come back around to that. Yeah. But it was a little more like grounded in modern day sort of stuff.
That's really interesting. Yeah.
Until Japanese video game developers came to some conferences in America and they discovered Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, I was going to bring this up.
This Dragon Quest.
Yeah.
The birth of my first and in many ways only love, Dragon Quest.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like, I was doing a bit of like research myself as well, just to kind of fact myself out as opposed to just playing a bunch of RPGs. And it is really interesting that...
Listen, the experience is also incredibly important, so don't discount yourself there.
But it's interesting because two of the major tentpoles of like mainstream JRPGs, like the big names, Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy, both drew inspiration from Ultima and Wizardry to Western games, as well as D&D. Like the job systems, like the role archetypes in both are kind of drawn from D&D.
It was all attempts to create a computer simulation of Dungeons and Dragons.
That's awesome.
There were a couple of avenues that they took to do this. Some of them were more dungeon crawly. Some of them were more action oriented. Some of them were more like turn-based and menu-based, which is still the basis for what a lot of people would consider the staple tropes of JRPGs today. That comes from just like how early computers were, you know?
And also like replicating the experience of a character sheet. Like,
exactly.
I'm in the middle of listening to the audiobook for Slaying the Dragon, which is the secret history of Dungeons and Dragons, like going back to the weird business. Like, for example, I just found out Wizards of the Coast bought Dungeons and Dragons from TSR, which was the original company and stuff like that. So, but it's funny how all of the things, again, we've talked about how Kingdom Hearts is a representation of East meets West, that even back to the origins of JRPGs, we have once again this thread. It's spooky how it keeps coming up. It's very magical.
Yes.
Yeah, it's crazy to think how one of the most famous Japanese RPGs was inspired by a trip to Applefest 1983 in San Francisco.
Yeah, I know.
Which is where the Dragon Quest team, who were all competition winners in a programming contest, to go to work at Enix in the first place, that was the prize. They got a trip to Applefest, and then they saw a bunch of video games, came back and said, let's make that.
I love the world. Humans are the best. Sometimes they do bad stuff, but humans are pretty cool.
Yeah. Dragon Quest was huge. It like defined the genre for a really long time. In fact, there's a word that I found called dorakue, which is Japanese for Dragon Quest-like.
Oh, that's great.
Like they would, instead of calling them RPGs, they would call them Dragon Quest-likes for the first few years.
I had heard a thing, which is apparently when a new Dragon Quest game comes out in Japan, it's considered a national holiday because enough people call out of work that day to play the new Dragon Quest that they
Japan.
It's
huge. The perennial problem for Dragon Quest as a franchise, and I want to talk to you guys about these franchises in just a second, but Dragon Quest specifically has always done so well in Japan and terribly elsewhere. And it's
except for me.
Yes, except for Mayanna, who, as we have documented for 40 episodes now, is a little freak.
I'm a little freak.
In fact, actually, the first Dragon Quest even kind of undersold in Japan at the time, but the developer went around to give a bunch of interviews to explain what what a computer RPG was. And then when he described it in a bunch of magazines, that's when sales started to rise.
That's crazy. I love that, though. And I mean, like, whenever there's a new thing, the thing you constantly run into, and you run into it in a different way with social media now, is what is it? Like, hey, this thing I'm doing, what is it? And how do you, in an elevator pitch way, communicate the things that somebody else would find interesting about that so that they'll vibe with it?
And specifically, I think it's so funny that tradition goes back to the very first JRPGs, that part of what JRPGs are is a type of game where you have to go, trust me, you're gonna love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the perennial phrase of it gets good at X hours.
Yeah.
Matt, have you successfully converted anyone into Trails believers or JRPG believers in your day?
We have had a bit of success but with those remakes coming out for the early Trails games. It's actually been really nicely timed for our podcast. We finished our first season about the first game, and then the remake came out, so people were kind of finding their way to it there. We finished season 2 for the second game coming out this year. We're working on the third. And I think those remakes have done a really good job of bringing people in, because those early ones were a bit tough to play in the original format. But yeah, it turns out talking for like 3 hours a week about these games will eventually convince someone if they're silly enough to listen.
There are other little freaks out there. We know it. So Trails actually goes back to like one of these big lineages of JRPG franchises, right?
Yes. It is one of those series that is a spin-off of a spin-off, similar to like the Persona series as well.
Yeah.
The very, very first game the Trails comes from was Dragon Slayer, The Legend of Heroes, which was in 1984.
And it was one of the very first action RPGs. It was like, it wasn't as menu-based. It was like about the movement and doing things in real time.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, they were trying some new things. And then from that, Dragon Slayer had 2, and then Legend of Heroes became its own banner. And there was a bunch of games on that, some of which have been released in English, notably on PSP, the Gagarv trilogy, which is just fun to say.
That's great.
Those ones are really badly translated, but I do have copies of them sitting around waiting for me to really dive in when I need to cook my brain a bit more.
There you go.
But eventually, The Legend of Heroes 6 was Trails in the Sky. And then when that did really well, because it was like completely separate from the world of the other games and everything, they made The Legend of Heroes its own banner for Trails. And so now across all these things, there's something like 30, 40 games in total. Trails makes up 13 of them.
That's amazing.
Is the longest running. One of the other spin-offs that kind of fell by the wayside, because this is all Falcom. They have kind of a couple of RPG series. They've got Trails, which is your sort of turn-based RPG. You've got the Ease games, which is like full action combat RPG running around. There was a third that they tried to build called Xanadu. Tokyo Xanadu.
Oh, I've heard of that. Yes.
Dragon Slayer 2 Xanadu.
Yes, Xanadu was another one of the headings that spun off, and that eventually led to Tokyo Xanadu, which was kind of their attempt of doing a Persona. So
it looks, the format feels very Persona.
Yeah, you're building relationships, but the combat is all action. You're sort of in an open field, and you're sort of running around doing hack and slash. That kind of didn't hit the way the others did. They eventually re-released it as Tokyo Xanadu EX Plus, which came out on like Switch and stuff like that. And now
it looks so much like Persona 4.
Year, I think they're releasing Kyoto Xanadu as the sequel.
Ooh.
And I love that it's just a different city. That's so fun.
Heck yeah.
But they've mixed up the combat. It's more like a platforming dungeon crawler is like a 2D thing.
Well, but dungeon crawling is also inherent to the genre, like, or at least its roots, like having those big dungeons, even in, stuff like Zelda and Castlevania, which have had various portions of them be JRPG-like across their eras, variously more or less RPG-like. So after Dragon Quest, there kind of became these like big dynasties of like the first JRPG series that sort of evolved and are, I think, almost all of them still releasing to this day.
Yeah.
So the ones I could find, and please correct me if I've missed any, Dragon Quest was huge and remains huge, and Dragon Quest 11 just came out or something,
was
right?
it 2017? It was like
something like
ago.
that. There was 2017.
Oh, so 12 must be coming.
The definitive edition came out, and then the protagonist of Dragon Quest XI was featured in Super Smash Brothers, under the hero banner for Dragon Quest. I've played 11. I thought I'd beaten it, and they did that thing where you beat it, and then there's whole other game in there.
Yeah. Whoa!
And I'm excited to play whole other game in there. I was shooketh and shocked.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God. Yeah.
Dragon Quest XI is pinnacle, yeah.
It's massive. It is definitive. It's really good.
So being massive is also a characteristic of JRPGs. A lot of these games are massive. So there's Dragon Quest, there's the Megami Tensei series, which is the precursor to Persona. Mm-hmm. There's the Final Fantasy series, the Dragon Slayer Legacy Into the Trails series. And then I saw some folks considering the Phantasy Star series in there as well.
Yeah. I could see that. Yeah.
That all of these games came out like between 1986 and 1989, and they like really established for their companies, for their platforms, for the country and the world at large, like what these games were doing. And one of the things they were doing was telling big stories because, again, they could fit more text onto the memory of the little cartridges at a time. And that remained like a huge feature of them even as games grew. Like when memory limits increased, like these JRPG series, the Megami Tensei, Final Fantasy 4, 5, and 6, when they had more room, they crammed it full of more story. That's what they doubled and tripled down on. So that became like a really defining feature of the genre.
They're like epics.
They are epics.
Yeah, in the Odyssey way.
You know, like with these sprawling dynasties and countries and politics, they became these like grand movies with combat sequences that were still mostly menu-based.
Yeah.
But the menus became less of a like hard drive necessity and more just the thing they knew you were familiar with to drift you between these epic scenes.
Kind of a way to sort of ratify the big high fantasy story down into like numbers you can play with. Like, okay, yes, magic and summoning beasts from the beyond is real. But the thing that I understand is that I have a 67 in defense.
Right.
Yeah, I have sword that go +3.
Why did I pick that number at this moment in time?
I like that. Yeah. Oh, 6-7. There you go. Yeah, exactly. There you go. Good stuff. Hey, you're current with the trends. You're hip.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
You're hip and cool.
Kingdom Hearts and Trails and 6-7. You're hip.
Yeah, I got all my
Honestly,
bases covered.
that's pretty hip.
Yeah. So, you know, there's directions that these things have taken too when they had more room to grow, right? Some of them doubled and tripled down on the visuals. Some of them doubled down on new battle systems. Some of them were more action-based or more turn-based or just had more intricate turn-based. So there's a couple of like subgenres that arise here. Like there's the traditional menu-based JRPG. There's the action RPG that has more of an element of real-time battle in them. And there's the strategy RPG or SRPG, which I had always heard as called a tactics RPG.
Yeah,
because
I've heard of
Final Fantasy
tactics. And that's like where Fire Emblem and you, like these kind of top down, like you still have units that only represent one person or maybe, you know, maybe a couple units that represent like a group of people. But yeah, you like poke around on a map, you make them attack. Yeah.
It's more board game like than, it's about positioning. It's about like control of a board as opposed to some other, like other RPGs. It's just, you know, sometimes you're in a line and you just do your attacks in turn order. Sometimes you're on a battlefield and you're hacking and slashing. But like the tactics games are board games, which I love board games. I love like strategy board games like that.
Those are also, I would say, more so reminiscent of Dungeons and Dragons and the fact that you have things like height and positioning.
Yes. Certainly the wargaming elements of it. Yeah,
absolutely.
Right? So all of these were different attempts to try to emulate the same experience of Dungeons and Dragons by like people who were having vastly different experiences and prioritizing different parts of that.
Yeah, it's interesting because that also aligns with like the different kinds of D&D players you get. You've got like the crunchy number people who just want to min-max and do combat for 6 hours in a row. And then you've got the character players who want to embody a character and see how that interacts with the world. So yeah, it's kind of interesting that all of these developers could look at the same like source inspiration or each other and say, but what is the bit I like doing and how can I build my game around that?
Which one are you?
Ooh.
I'm definitely character-led. I'm there for the story most of all. I like engaging with like, you know, combats, the unique systems, whatever each game has, but I'm typically not someone who's going to spend hours staring at the materia screen to get the optimal thing. Put it this way, Trails have had like an auto-equip thing for many games now, and
Excellent.
I support it.
Every game should have auto equip. Every game should have auto strongest equip. Oh my god, I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm here to live, laugh, love. I'm here to make characters fall in love. I'm here to see this through to the end.
You're not here to might mischief menu?
I am not here to do, okay, if I do these two things, the synergies between them. I love that people love that, but I similarly am like, oh man, I'm not playing the same Final Fantasy VII as other people. I'm not. Like, they're doing stuff in there and it's brilliant and it's amazing, and it's not me.
I'm glad it's there, and I engage to it sometimes. It does feel good when you're a player like us, Mayanna, and then you look up like the optimum build for whoever character, and then you just plug all the things in and say, oh, okay, you're a god now. I understand.
Yeah, I'm like, I can fly.
Hello, it's me, Mayanna. Thank you so much again for listening to Simple and Clean, a Kingdom Hearts podcast. I am here once again to remind you that we have a Patreon. You can find us at Simple and Clean Pod on Patreon. You can sign up for the $5 Final Mix tier. In addition to ad-free versions of the episodes, you get access to the Secret Reports. Ooh, Secret and Reports. It's a sort of free talk style show where Mischa and I get to do a little bit of jazzing about Kingdom Hearts adjacent media or just things that we're both passionate about. We have a full talk through of Mischa's playthrough of Dispatch, the game that I wrote on. We talk about Full Metal Alchemist. We talk about Final Fantasy X, and we are listening to Patreon members' recommendations for what they want to hear us talk about. We've got a couple really fun episodes planned out. I think our next one's going to be Final Fantasy X-2, a game that's very near and dear to my heart. I also am recently almost done playing through Metaphor Ari Fantasio, and I am going to need to talk to Mischa about it. So if you like those things, if you want to be a part of our growing community on there, you can find us at Simple and Clean Pod on Patreon. And if you can't support the show in that way, we totally understand. Leave a comment, leave a like, find us on Instagram or Blue Sky. Leave us a message in a bottle and it might appear on the show. Thank you again all so much for listening. We love making the show for you. It's a labor of love for both of us. So if you can support us in any way, we greatly appreciate it. Simple and Clean Pod is a part of the Multitude Podcast Collective, a collective of people making podcasts about things they're passionate about, such as science. Science shapes every part of our lives, but so much of its influence is overlooked or buried in the past. Tiny Matters is an award-winning podcast about tiny things, from molecules to microbes, that have a big and often surprising impact on society. From deadly diseases to forensic toxicology to the search for extraterrestrial life, hosts and former scientists Sam Jones and Deboki Chakravarti embrace the awe and messiness of science and its place in history and today, and how it could impact our world's future. Tiny Matters is brought to you by the American Chemical Society, a nonprofit scientific organization based in Washington, D.C., and is a part of the Multitude Podcast Collective. New episodes every Wednesday wherever you get your podcasts. That's Tiny Matters. New episodes every Wednesday wherever you get your podcasts.
So, do we want to talk about the Final Fantasy VII in the room?
Yes, let's talk about the Final Fantasy VII in the room. The girl that changed everything.
Seriously, though, this was huge. This was like, it blew up the genre internationally and became the new blueprint for everything. I mean, it really cemented what you could do with the CD-ROM era. I found the CD-ROM era, researching the technology of this was my favorite part of it.
Can I just like nerd out about the technology of this? Go for it.
So talk about the character density. Like, that's why you can have JRPGs on little cartridges. CD-ROMs had 10 times the capacity of a cartridge and were dirt cheap to make. So not only could you have them, you could make games on multiple discs, across multiple discs, for nominally next to no money. So when you take that and combine it with the density of information you get with Japanese games and the density of visuals and animations that had been there since Enix and Square released their first games in 1985 for personal computers. I went back and looked at those graphics. Like, in 1985, they were doing full, like, Gundam mechs in their sci-fi RPGs. This is before Final Fantasy. Like, they've always had that room to do the incredible visuals, and now they could do it on not just discs, multi-disc games.
The flex of opening that box for the first time and seeing 3 discs of Final Fantasy VII, you're like, oh my God.
All of this is the game.
And the joy you get when you actually get to change the disc, that's like you feel accomplished.
The rush. Nothing beats it.
So all of this led to Final Fantasy VII. It changed everything. It was the first JRPG that ever hit anywhere outside of Japan in any real way. There had been releases before. Localization, because of the density of information, actually, localization was just took exponentially longer and had to do a worse job because people in other languages didn't have the same density in their languages, so they had to fit less text in the same space.
Now, which part of that explains Barrett's whole Mr. T situation? Whose fault was that one?
Somebody was definitely
we don't
watching
have to answer
A-team.
the question.
I think Namara was definitely like, the A-team, what if they were all one guy?
Yeah.
What if I just took all of the A-team and made him one guy?
Yeah.
You know?
And he had a gun arm.
Yeah, and I feel like it was the English localization that then turned that subtext into large text.
Yeah. Well, you know what else didn't even occur to me until I was looking into this? Final Fantasy VII also released right around the same time as Toy Story, the first movie with 3D graphics.
The first CG movie.
And this was the first JRPG with like the big 3D graphics. And so people were primed to be impressed by this thing.
Yeah.
You know?
And they needed to be because people were mad about Final Fantasy and Squaresoft breaking up with Nintendo and moving to PlayStation at the time as well.
Well, yeah, because Nintendo refused to go to CDs. Every JRPG franchise abandoned Nintendo at that point. So I didn't want to get so granular in like the history of video game consoles, but during the 16-bit era on the SNES, like Final Fantasy 4, 5, and 6, Dragon Quest 5, Shin Megami Tensei 1 and 2, Chrono Trigger, which was a collaboration between multiples of these companies and then became its own incredible thing, and also Pokemon Red and Green in 1996.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like everybody was on Nintendo, and then Nintendo said, we're not going to do discs, and everybody, except for Pokemon, which they owned, everybody bailed. Everybody went to the PS1 because like everyone was by that point expecting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger stories from JRPGs. And so it was only natural that the entire genre would move to the most lexically dense format possible every time.
I'm realizing too that like even into the GameCube, they were very resistant, and like the disc size for the GameCube was like very much proprietary. It's smaller,
and because it's smaller, you can fit less game on it. That's just like the physical reality of media.
They didn't do full CD game until like the Wii had a disc drive, and then they immediately pivoted to cartridges again on the Switch.
But by that time, they'd already lost huge ground to the PS1 and then the PS2, which was an incredible console. Like
crazy.
We're on a Kingdom Hearts podcast. We're lovers of the PS2 here. You know, like that's
I'm a big Sony baby.
That machine feels like the monolith from 2001: A Space Odyssey for me, and we're all just the Neanderthals like beating our chests against
like,
it, you know? Yeah. And I'm sure that was an ad in when it came out, and if it wasn't, some ad exec in 2000 whatever should call me.
Well, that, and then they did it for the Barbie movie, so we got it covered. We did it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. We got there eventually.
So, like, the PS2 era was, every time there's an iteration in game consoles, JRPGs just expand to fill it. They always trying, like, new, different combat systems or bigger dungeons. You know, like, one of the franchises that really kept to the dungeon crawl roots is Shin Megami Tensei and Persona. They remain dungeon crawlers even when, like, Final Fantasy became more linear.
It's crazy that we jump from in 97 or 96 Final Fantasy VII, and then within 7-ish years we have Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
Like, that leap was not that far off from there.
Well, what we got in the PS2 era, the big information like density thing we got was full music and cutscene and like better cutscenes and full voice acting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Final Fantasy kind of made that their whole identity for a while. Like they were the biggest, the prettiest, like the FMVs were just like over the top. You were playing the game to get to the next movie.
When some other series were actually still doing 2D graphics, which were like still great at the time and still felt like JRPGs, right? Because really what you're looking for is like the story and the characters and the stat-based gameplay. So as long as you have that, it can be a 2D aesthetic, a 3D aesthetic. Not everybody had the budgets to blow it up like Square did. Yeah. And so other franchises were still doing that, but then to put that next to things like Final Fantasy X and Kingdom Hearts, the ground started to fall out from beneath some of the smaller industry bits, Only those like dynastic franchises remained.
Yeah. The ones who were like big enough to weather the storm.
Yeah. And then you compare it to what was coming out in the West, like when Kingdom Hearts came out, what kind of RPGs was the West making? We were making things like Baldur's Gate and Diablo and Fallout, which were
brown,
like
gray,
brown, yeah, and just like they hadn't had as much practice at the same thing. We were only now, in the late 90s, getting around to systems that could have enough information density that like stories in English could be denser.
Yeah,
we were just starting to get there, and like Japan had 10, 15 years on us.
But I'll say this too. I think the sensibilities of Western RPGs of that time where they were very much targeted at a grizzled, like mature,
yes,
grounded, tragic. And not to say that, because JRPGs are about, again, really big ideas. There are parents dying. There are cities falling to ruin. There are mass floods. Final Fantasy VI, halfway through the game, the world literally explodes and then you have to put it back together. But the difference, I think, and I think we see it even now as we continue to make, games in the East and West, there's a colorful, vibrant, fun, playful, weird silliness that JRPGs have that a lot of Western RPGs like have gotten better at, but are still very much in the like grounded sewers and rats. Yeah,
that definitely goes back to the anime roots of it all, especially the fact that like Dragon Quest, what many consider the first true JRPG, was art directed by Akira Toriyama, who made Dragon Ball, hot off the heels of Dragon Ball. Like he was he was the new hotness, and somehow they like Enix went and got him. And it was like this huge coup. Like this was the first one that was really considering, the art direction and the vibe of the thing. And the vibe they chose was shown in anime.
Yeah.
And it's still working to this day.
It's the basis of the entire thing. Like a JRPG is almost an anime of a game with stats.
Yeah.
A lot of like animes, which are now lit RPGs, like they have stats back in them. In fact, that goes back.
One Piece is the JRPG of animes.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like I've not watched it, but like Big Adventure,
World
party
Traversal.
members coming in and out.
Yeah, big ship.
World Traversal, getting new mechanics as you go.
Well, the world traversal and like the episodic storytelling and the slow growth, like that all goes back to Journey to the West, which is exactly what Dragon Ball is an adaptation of. Like it all goes back into these roots, and we're still seeing that kind of storytelling heavily linked to the genre to this day.
It's amazing.
And I mean, to that note, like one thing that Dragon Quest does more so than any other JRPGs is, while it is a big overarching story, each game is designed to be very episodic in how you play it. Like there's little mini arcs, like you go to a town, there's a problem, you interact with it, you solve it. But it's designed that way because they wanted you to be able to play it in a burst where you feel like you've reached a sense of completion. Like even if the game itself is 80 hours long, you've been playing for 3 hours and you've fixed this town.
Yeah.
So you have an ending and you can kind of move on to your next adventure for your next session.
Yeah.
A game that says it's okay to have smaller bites and put me down. Unlike some other games I could mention.
Uh-oh, here we go.
Everything on a cell phone.
The age of save points was a terrible time.
Well, I just mean anything that appears in an iPhone ad.
Yeah, what is rank King's Chamber Quest.
Don't speak the devil's tongue on this podcast. Do not say its name. They are not sponsored.
Army of Farm Sim Army Tank Coins.
I think I've played that one.
I bought land in that one.
So there's a long legacy and a long history and a long cultural identity that goes into what is a JRPG. And now we've had enough time that they've been around long enough that a lot of people grew up with them and have a big fondness for them that have gone on to make their own games. I think what also owes to the sense of nostalgia, there was a period in there kind of right after Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, Tales of Symphonia was in there, Final Fantasy X. Like after those games, there was a period where JRPGs were on the decline. Yeah. And what happened was in the move to HD graphics, the PS3 era, the Xbox 360 era. First off, remember how I said all of those franchises were tied to Sony? The PS3 launch sucked.
Yeah, it did.
It was bad. The manufacturing was bad. Yep. And so people were hesitant to get on the PS3. In fact, Persona 4 came out like 2 years after the PS3 was already out, but it came out on the PS2.
And that was smart.
It was smart. They
smart.
made more money that way. Between that and I think what happened is that because they had so much room, the HD, like those consoles really took information density and they were like, come meet us in the pit, Japanese language.
Yeah,
like
bet.
we'll give you as much space as you want.
Yeah.
And it was truly like too much space and everything had to be HD. There was pressure on that, which meant that art direction and being like tasteful because you had to fit certain things in so you could put more story in went by the wayside. They had too much room to play and art direction kind of went out the window a little bit. So that like led to things getting a little mushy. Meanwhile, Western games were discovering that they had room to do art direction now. And that so it was a reversal of fortunes that came with that era. I was looking up some game scores from that era. Everything was reviewed badly. Ooh.
And that was a problem because like going for that higher fidelity also meant that like the frequency of releases for a given series was way slowed down. I mean, you look at Final Fantasy, like they used to release a game every year. And then we went, what was it, like 7 years between 15 and 16? And 16 was originally meant to be a spin-off of 13, so that's how long it was kicking around for.
That's how much it was.
This is another problem that arose in the HD era, that Japanese games had a legacy of just like recreating it from scratch every time because they wanted to tell that bigger story on that bigger system, whereas Western companies were more willing to embrace like base engines to build like platforms, third-party platforms that may have made each game look a little more similar, but who cares when they're playing such fun things?
And they're coming out at a frequency.
And they're coming out sooner and they're satisfying the demand of the industry. Yeah. And then there were also just like a lot of high profile failures, like Grandia 3 was not reviewed very well. Tales of Legendia was not reviewed very well. Dawn of Mana, which is in the Trials of Mana series, was really abysmally reviewed.
Final Fantasy 8 was poorly reviewed by people who have bad opinions.
There you go. Only good taste on this podcast.
Well, coming off of 10, 10 was so good, right?
Yeah.
And then 11 was an online thing. So I would actually say that I don't know if 11 is a JRPG.
I would say, it's an MMORPG. I think, like, for me as a fan of Square Enix during this time, I felt 11 was, one, I mean, my parents were very protective of me as a child, and so they wouldn't let me play online games. Rightfully so. They were right.
They were right.
But 11 was starting to like build momentum and the trailers were coming out and it was an online game and I was like, well, I'm just not going to be able to play this one.
Yeah.
And then 12 came out and I liked 12, but I didn't finish
12
it.
12 is a big departure.
Yeah, it is.
They really wanted to, they took that opportunity to try to HDify things, but they strayed a little too far from what people felt was a Final Fantasy game at the time.
Yes, it's its own thing.
Well, and it was the first one that had strayed that far. Like things were evolving, but not, things were still menu-based in Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, 10. 12 had this like AI gambit system that made everything look like a WoW session, even when it was single player.
It was really cool. It was really cool. Yep. And I think like the real time on the field, we're not doing turn-based. It's like when we see a monster, you approach it and you wallop on it. I thought that was really cool. But like the mix between that and how the spells were working, and like there was like a kind of skeletal version of the similar menu system to Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy VII Remake. Like they started to sophisticate like what that would become. But yeah, it was definitely the battle system I felt I had the least confident grasp of as I continued to play it.
I kind of loved it. I have such a soft spot for Final Fantasy 12, specifically for the Gambit system, because going through that, like learning a very basic version of programming to kind of kit out your parties for different fights and stuff.
It's object-based programming. They taught you how to code with that game a little bit.
With nice, easy to sort of assemble blocks that you just sort of stack together. Playing through that and seeing how I could sort of program the game and reactions and stuff, that is what got me interested in like games from an analytic perspective. That's why I started reviewing games, was Final Fantasy 12.
Oh, wow. I mean, I love Fran, and I'll always love Fran, and I love
That
Pinello.
voice, yeah.
The both of them.
I think FF12 is ultimately great. It was just very different and shocked a lot of people at the time when JRPGs as a genre didn't need a shock to the system, and it was just like poorly timed as a big departure. And then Final Fantasy 13 tried to get back to that, but like did too much to get back to that and ended up just being, it was reviewed as like a series of hallways. And don't get me wrong, I was
going to say, simulation games, this is Hallway Simulator.
Right. Well, like, it turns out, like, I also played, like, Edith Finch, which is literally a hallway simulator, or Blueprints, which is literally a hallway simulator. So, like, it turns out I'm fine with hallway simulators. Maybe I should give 13 a chance.
Wasn't 13 also the one that co-released on the Xbox?
Yes, that was their return to other consoles.
Well, they had to do something. They had to get in front of more eyes because and this, again, so many things were like poorly reviewed in this era because a lot of things were reviewed as like stale and not changing. But when they did change, it disappointed people who were looking for the same thing. Meanwhile, Western games were having this huge, come up. And, like, they got overshadowed. And there was some, when Final Fantasy 13 came out, it wasn't just like, wow, is Final Fantasy 13 cooked? Is Final Fantasy cooked? It was like, are JRPGs cooked?
Oof.
Like, do they have relevance in this modern era of gaming? And, like, fortunately, they were having like a thriving time on handhelds. This is when Trails in the Sky first came out for handhelds, and like things that weren't getting localized when they came out were finally getting localization for people who were looking for them. Like Persona 3 came out on PSP, Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core was coming out, and Kingdom Hearts announced 3 different games on handhelds, all of which like, again, I haven't played Coded, and we're gonna play Birth by Sleep for this show, but like 358 seems dope. I want to play it so bad.
It was really dope.
I might have gotten my hands on the Melon Mix. Please stay tuned. I might have gotten it. I might have it.
This is a mod where you can play it on the PC.
You can play Recoded and 358 on the PC.
Right.
And Mac.
Well, I'm actually planning to play the original Coded. I got an Ein Thor, an emulator device.
Oh, sure.
like
it's one of those
Android-based.
like little clone guys.
Designed to look just like a 3DS.
Oh, someone at my work was just talking about this too. It looks literally like a 3DS, and it's kind of like purple.
Yeah. I got
cute.
clear purple to simulate the original Game
Atomic
Boy
Purple.
that I had.
I miss when everything was Atomic Purple.
Yeah, beautiful thing. It can play anything up to PS3.
Wow. That's amazing.
I could play Kingdom Hearts on this if I really wanted to.
Incredible. That's amazing. But this move to handheld, like, it was an interesting time for JRPGs, right? Because JRPGs have this legacy of like trying to do bigger every time. Meanwhile, handhelds were getting good enough to simulate the older games.
Yeah.
But in doing that, they were having a thriving revival on handhelds, but it had this inadvertent quality of making JRPGs from the biggest thing into a small thing.
Oh.
At the same time as they were losing the plot on big consoles. So all of these things sort of conspired into a contraction of JRPGs. Meanwhile, the West was releasing Elder Scrolls Oblivion, Skyrim, Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3, Dragon. Like, we were finally getting the hang of RPGs. And, I mean, people really were afraid that this genre was cooked until our Lord and Savior returned, Persona 5.
Yes, Joker. Save us, Joker.
You'll never see it coming.
Yes, you'll never see it coming.
You know what saved it? Art direction.
It really was a last surprise.
It was, they were like, we're getting beat because we lost our sense of art direction. We lost that sense of like, high quality when the capacities blew out. We need to get back to that. And Persona 5, like, it's not a menu-based battle system, but it's so vibin' that you love it anyway. It has such drip.
It looks, every part of it looks cool. It's
Yeah.
not style over substance, it's style as substance.
Yes.
Yes.
It like literally birthed a meme. Like the amount of people who like photoshopped out the like attack indicator and put it on literally everything.
That one
Didn't
dancing
it, like,
security guard at a football game that everyone's seen.
Oh yeah, it
very
won,
that.
Yeah.
Mayanna, yes, it won everything. It won everything.
If the UI got awards.
And this kicked off like other franchises remembering what art direction is. Not long after this, we got Breath of the Wild, which is like an action RPG. Like Zelda is intertwined into this history. Like I sort of left it behind in the early paragraphs, but like Zelda is also a Japanese RPG that ties its roots back to Dungeons and Dragons and Ultima and Wizardry. And Breath of the Wild looked incredible. Nier Automata looked incredible. The Tales game started looking good. Dragon Quest started looking good again. You know, like Yakuza has such style. Octopath started coming out and has such style. Like, style became the name of the game, and we all remembered that another intrinsic feature of JRPGs as a genre is their breathtaking devotion to cinematic quality.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be the highest fidelity thing that ever happened. Like, Persona 5 is not that.
Well, no, Octopath is definitely not that.
Metaphor Refantasio, one of the most stylish games ever. And that's, re-embracing that at kind of like the limitations, the constraints as kind of a way to create greatness. Because like in handhelds, they had to scale things down. You couldn't just make the biggest. You had to find a way to give value in a tight space. And now the HT 2D kind of generation of Octopath, the Dragon Quest 1, 2, 3 remakes, Live Alive, and all those other ones that they've done in that sort of similar style. It's kind of a meshing of the two where you need the power to produce it, but it's made to look simple.
Yes.
And it's one of my favorite aesthetics at the moment.
It's really awesome. It's really something.
Because it's specific. That's what art direction is. It's just like picking us, being hyper specific with the aesthetics of it, like making choices, making decisions, and sticking to them, and making the things shine.
Yeah, when you don't have 16 million polygons, you only have like a sprite that is 16 by 32 pixels. How much character can you give it?
Sometimes limitations are good and breed creativity. Like sometimes coming out of that, you find something really special and unique.
But then on the flip side of that, there's studios that are now applying this genre, the what is a JRPG of it. Like now we're getting true JRPGs made by not Japanese studios.
French winner of everything, Claire Obscure.
Listen, it is just Final Fantasy X with action parrying and the most gorgeous aesthetics you've ever seen. Like, they took the art direction to a crazy degree. They tuned up the thing. Like, and JRPGs, again, have variously had portions of real-time reaction commands, or like Super Mario RPG in 1996 had parry commands, had like real-time attacks. But it takes all of those things and just polishes them to a beautiful sheen, a perfect, like, and also that the game's about painting is just the icing on the cake in it. But also, there's games like Sea of Stars, which is not Japanese in any capacity, but is a real classic JRPG and beautiful. Yeah. And embracing those aesthetics also makes you a JRPG, even if you're not a Japanese game.
Yeah, I love games like Sea of Stars because like pixel art, it's always beautiful. Like, you can do so much with it. But normally that was used so you could build a set of tiles that you could quickly construct the 16 different rooms with the same base components for space concerns on like whatever memory you're stored on. Now we don't have to do that. So it's like, what if every single screen had custom sprite art every time?
Every single.
Yes,
no
please.
need to reuse anything. Enjoy. Have a bath. Have a grand time. Bask in it.
We can fit so many bitmaps on this CD.
Slaps PS5. This baby can fit so many bitmaps.
Oh, this baby. So I guess now that we're in the modern era, I guess now we have to answer the big question, which is does Kingdom Hearts fit into this history?
Now that I've described JRPGs and given the scope of them and where they stretch and their entire context and how they've come to be, is Kingdom Hearts one of them?
I mean, it's such a wide definition, the JRPG now. It's not even J specific. And
no.
Also, I love that it was used like through the 90s and early 2000s as like a derogatory term in the Western market, kind of like it was reductive. But meanwhile, the Japanese were embracing it as like
that's also
pride.
a time, right? So Final Fantasy VII also was one of like the bridges of Japanese culture to America, because you have to remember, like, Cowboy Bebop was 1998. You know, like Full Metal Alchemist was 2001. Like, these things were right on the cusp of breaching containment. So, like, when people were using JRPG derisively, it's the same as they were like, oh, I bet you're into animes. You know, like, when people used to make fun of me for liking anime. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about.
I don't know what you mean, actually.
Completely normal and healthy people make a Kingdom Hearts podcast together.
I was really popular in high school.
I never watched Neon Genesis Evangelion at volume level 2 in the other room for my parents, so they wouldn't hear me watching it on the foreign programs channel.
That's playing with fire.
That and Queer as Folk, just ready to turn the TV off at a moment.
Asuka screaming, I don't want to be alone.
So, but to expand that to the present day, like, what makes a JRPG it's sort of like its ties to Japanese legacy of culture.
Storytelling traditions,
That the storytelling traditions of anime that go back hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. Like, it's that it, not necessarily that it be made in Japan, but that it has Japanese storytelling characteristics. Which I think Kingdom Hearts definitely has.
I think it definitely
I've talked
does.
before about how, you know, Donald and Goofy are definitely just anime characters skinned with those guys. Like, that in a Final Fantasy game, those guys would be other people.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it definitely has a Japanese storytelling sensibility. It's got devotion to aesthetics, for sure. It's a Disneyfied aesthetic, but it is very specific, and the art direction, like, in addition to being like good and cohesive, like, imagine having to make art direction cohesive. That's definitely specific. You know, it had to work between all of those different movies.
I'll say this too. Some of the early art inspirations for anime were Disney movies. In the 70s, that was a huge, like, starting point. We moved away from it, but even, like, Cyborg 009, Astro Boy, like, those very, very, very early animes were adopting a lot of art style convention from Disney films.
I never really thought about how, like, and specifically the Kingdom Hearts manga style looks so much like Cyborg 009 and Astro Boy. I love Cyborg 009.
I lied you too, and it's very
that rounded style. There's Western roots there. So it's not just being from and in Japan that makes these things, because JRPGs owe their existence to Western cartoons in part, and also Dungeons and Dragons, an American invention. Like, there's no JRPGs without Dungeons and Dragons.
A born in Wisconsin invention.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
I also feel that the way Kingdom Hearts, at least Kingdom Hearts 1, was laid out, it's kind of a stealth JRPG in the way it kind of brings in, like, the combat and mechanics, because, you know, when you start playing Kingdom Hearts, if you only played the first hour on Destiny Islands or whatever, pretty basic, bonk, 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 dodge. By the time you're fighting Sephiroth at Olympus Coliseum, you've had all these other mechanics, all your skills have been updated. Think of the comparison just of your status bar from start to finish of the game. Like, you're dodging and rolling. There's so much, like, mechanical and physical agility required to kind of play through it. And you just kind of grade it up to there. So by the time you know you're playing a JRPG, you've been tricked. Americans.
Yeah, I'll also say in terms of the dungeon exploration component, and in most JRPGs, you start in a small town, that's your hometown, and you will see the entire world. You will have traveled the entire world by the end of most JRPGs, whatever world that is you're inhabiting. And Kingdom Hearts is very much the same way in that regard as well. You will have seen not just your world, you will have traveled through all of the worlds in your conceivable universe.
Yeah, I mean, I do hear you. Like, you only ever go to, like, one village on those worlds, and it makes you wonder how much of, like, a world there is, you know? I think about that a lot. It's like, it's just these 3 rooms. There's not, like, a Greece out there, you know?
No.
Like, there's not
there is. They're just not,
you're
just not
see it, though.
It.
Well, so I agree that there's, you know, like, expansive travel and, like, a grandiose and cinematic style of storytelling that Kingdom Hearts certainly subscribes to. I mean, I think Kingdom Hearts toes the line of, like, the action RPG, right? Like, action RPGs come from JRPGs. It's a specific lineage of JRPG that, like, comes from a certain method of trying to emulate Dungeons and Dragons that certain people were ascribing to. This is, like, where Zelda comes from as well. Like, that's in that camp. It's a subset of it. It's a different like it's a not 100% overlap of JRPGs, but like I would say it's enough. And I think that, other companies were starting there. Square went the full menu direction for their, legacy, but this is them trying to dip their toes in the action RPG genre while like ostensibly still having the menu, which I think is silly, to be clear. The menu's kind of silly.
I mean, in terms of like story beats, like Kingdom Hearts kind of follows a similar model to Dragon Quest. You arrive at a new town or world, you solve their problems, you make an impact and leave it changed, to eventually return home as a changed person yourself. And those kind of changes that you make in the world are continuous. They sort of, if you revisit a place, it's still affected by the way you changed it. So it does have that sort of long-term narrative.
You bring back a boon for your fellow man. Classic Joseph Campbell. We did it, Joe.
And then you also fight a god ship at the end.
Yeah.
You have like you also in the classic storytelling convention, like you leave a place and you come back to that place for the final confrontation. You have changed, you have learned, and that place falls apart into, the Lord of all creation, the door to everything.
Well,
and
that transformation bit, that also goes back to the information density on the disc, right? Because the more they had to fill, like Final Fantasy VI, like the fact that the overworld map changes so drastically halfway through, like that was a big flex on what they could do with that amount of storage at that time. That was one of the ways that they were trying to expand to fill that disk space. I think that technological thing like all of that stuff really truly just blew my mind for this episode. It was so cool.
And then Dragon Quest XI said, hey, remember how you liked that in Final Fantasy VI? What if we did that again, but it's in 3D now and you're crying?
And also 2D if you want it to.
There you go. True.
But because they have such iconic stories with such specific characters and such like epic tales, like they engender a lot of nostalgia in their player base. People want to play and replay and play similar things that's why these series, a lot of which are anthologies that are not the same or like direct sequels to each other, like that's why they endure, because people are like, give me more, dude. I remember it being so good and so fun and meaning so much to me. Give me more. Put more of it in me.
Yeah.
And that is a sense that Kingdom Hearts definitely conveys.
Very much.
Chex Watch 40 episodes into this podcast.
Yes. Oh man. I mean, I would say yes. I would say Kingdom Hearts is definitely a JRPG. That's what I would say.
Yeah, it definitely has like the JRPG components that I like, the ongoing story, the cool character archetypes, fun systems that build on themselves, reaction commands goated as always.
Oh, I hope they come back. I miss them, my babies.
Kingdom Hearts 4, save me.
Specifically, one of the things I love in an RPG is a hidden character who gets revealed. So the organization nails that. And when I was going through the list of games that I sort of collated to talk about or have as references here, there's like two others where it's that. Like Trails, for one, loves a costume guy who gets revealed later on.
A name, question mark, that then becomes the name when they say it. Yeah.
There's been 3 different mysterious characters all named C.
Ooh.
And they're not the same guy.
That's really fun. And having a recurring naming convention feels very like Sid in the Final Fantasy games to me as well. Yeah.
Well, that's a cool thing about all of these legacies, right? We've talked a little bit, you and me, Mayanna, about the Final Fantasy version of this, that like the magic spells remain the same. Like that's what ties all of these anthologies together, that like all these series together, is that they have like certain things that carry through, even when the worlds are different. And it gives you a basis of familiarity that then allows you to reclaim that brain space for even more dense story narrative. Like they're even hacking the capacity of your mind. That's what it really is JRPGs are games that try to tell the biggest stories in the most smallest way possible, so sometimes battle ends up just being a menu.
Well, then I say that Kingdom Hearts is definitely a JRPG, because what's bigger than the combined slay of all of Square Enix and all of Disney to try and attempt to tell a coherent narrative start to finish, which they may or may not.
Can you imagine a Kingdom Hearts game on multiple discs?
Yeah, I can, yeah.
Can you imagine
100%.
that man unhinged that far?
I can see it. Let's do it.
It would be like taking the Rock Lee weights off of Namura's wrists.
Free him.
You can have as many discs as you want, buddy. You know?
Release him.
Do we really need another Yoko Taro in the world, though?
Gosh, and how many games are even in Nier Automata anyway? Talk about information density.
Yes.
Gosh.
Oh man.
Wow.
What a
Matt,
journey.
This has been delightful. Thanks for coming on.
I feel like we JRPG the journey of JRPGs. I feel like we traveled the world.
You went out and you saw the whole world.
Yeah.
Lots of side diversions to eventually end up back on the main quest line, yeah.
Even as far away as Melbourne, Australia. Matt, thanks so much for joining us for this incredible romp.
Thank you for having me. It's been a delight to talk about Kingdom Hearts and also every other JRPG that's ever existed.
And Trails.
And Trails, that one.
Speaking of which, let's put Trails under your name in the Jiminy Journal. Please fill out the entry. Tell the people what you're doing and where they can find you.
Okay, well, for the podcast Trails Through Trails, you can find us at trailspod.online. We have links to all of our socials and stuff. Or you can go to the podcast network we're a part of, TWG, or The Worst Garbage, which is theworstgarbage.online. A delightful collection of podcasts, all very chill, a lot of gaming-focused stuff, but not exclusively. So come check it out. It's a lovely community of non-toxic gamers. Hooray!
Oh, yay! I love that.
Amazing.
That's my favorite kind.
So good. So Trails Through Trails, we're on our third season at the moment, going through Trails in the Sky, the third. And we will continue to do that for the next 10 games. Yeah, come check it out. We cover sort of one chapter of the game per episode on average, depending on how long the chapter is.
Sure.
And we try to make it pretty approachable for anyone, even if you're not playing. And then we talk for 2 to 3 hours about that every time. And then I have to edit it.
I truly feel you there, man. Oh, man, we're in the trenches together.
Yep.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
For this episode of Simple and Clean.
Can I be a little bit earnest and sincere for a second, though?
Yes.
Just while I'm here, I wanted to say, Mayanna, Dispatch is amazing and absolute delight. I'm really sorry that I fired you.
That's okay. I forgive you.
That's okay. I learned afterwards that that's how you get Mayanna's best performance anyway.
It was good. This is a compliment. I didn't finish it until like yesterday because I always stop right at the end of a game that I'm really enjoying and never ever finish it, so it doesn't have to be done.
I am the same way. We are the same person. I understand completely.
But I got there in the end. Fantastic. Loved every minute. And Mischa, you're why I like podcasts.
Oh my God.
The first shows I ever listened to were audio dramas. Ars Paradoxica, The Bright Sessions. They are why I love long-form stories. They are why I like D&D now.
Ooh.
And they are why I do a podcast many years later. So thank you for your contributions in the field. I love what you do, both of you.
We can't. It's nighttime here. We can't be weeping in the nighttime.
Yeah.
That's so. Sorry, I'm gonna be sincere now for a second. Sorry. Thank you so much for connecting with us and wanting to be on our show and for being a person who's passionate about games and wanting to share that with people and make it accessible for people in the same way we have made this our mission. So I'm so happy.
That's like the whole deal is to try to make inaccessible games more accessible so that our communities can grow. And I'm glad that like we caught each other in each other's nets that way. It feels so nice to meet another kindred spirit in that. So this has been really nice.
When I discovered the show and I was like, hell yeah, I'm into a lot of recap shows right now, funnily enough. But it was so nice to revisit Kingdom Hearts and then to, like, an episode or two in, make the connection. I was like, why do these people sound familiar? I get it. And then just feel like it's just like a fun hangout with friends every episode. That's the same vibe that we go for. So, yeah, I had to shoot my shot and see if I could become a part of the fun.
Oh, my gosh. I'm so glad you did.
So glad you did. Thank you.
Oh, I'm filled with so much joy right now. Oh.
Now you have to close the podcast because we're crying.
Okay, I've got to normalize the feelings a bit. So poop, fart, foot.
All right, I'm back to normal.
And let your heart be your guiding key.
Yes.
Wow. Goodbye.